we're living in very difficult times. Life is difficult. And the push-pull of you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that, or you didn't do that, or like we're never enough in the eyes of society. There's always something more we have to achieve. There's always a gold star we need to get. And you're not alone. And when we can be in nature, nature is an artesian well.
Mental health champions, I hope everyone is having a great day. Remember, don't be too hard on yourself. You will get through each and every day. And today, we're bringing on an amazing guest who owns a unique, potent, and provocative voice mastered at NYU, focusing on topics like gender issues, present and past drug policy in America, drug addiction, mental health, and so much more. She's making a difference in so many areas. She's also got an amazing new book we're going to talk about that may relate to a lot of you listening on. So get ready for a good one. DC, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for having me, Vincent.
Where are you tuning in from today?
I'm tuning in from New York City.
New York City. How's the weather as we're recording this early fall?
It's beautiful out. It's so stunning. It's really
love it.
lovely.
Well, here in Florida, we're still 90s and humid, so we're getting to our good months in a few months during the winter. So thank you for joining us from New York. And everyone, thank you for tuning in from wherever you are in the world to another episode here on A Mental Health Break, the #1 podcast for mental health champions, normalizing the conversation. And that's just what we're going to do here today. Our show sponsor is Coming Alive podcastproduction.com, and it helps us have these amazing conversations. And there's so many places we could start, but I like to start with you. Why mental health? Why do you focus on making a difference in this world?
Well, I'm coming from a unique perspective that mental health is something that is rare, and that our current policy of going to therapy and looking for drugs and all that stuff is a Band-Aid, but it's actually our society that's kind of sick and suffering, and that the mental health aspect of society is actually a part of society and what we need to be able to learn how to do. I talk about in my book to drop out of society for a minute, for 10 minutes, for a day, for a month, for a year, whatever you need. And I'm not knocking therapy or medication, by the way. I'm just saying that they are part of society still. There are ways in the ancient Greek culture, we used to go to Dionysus for mental health, or Apollo, whichever god rituals would relieve the suffering of the individual. We would go to them for help. And some of those things would be like poetry, nature, connection with other human beings. So my goal is to actually kind of, how do we drop out of society to find mental health?
And it's something that you've been focusing on and continuing to make a difference with. And surprise, surprise, everyone, this is the topic of her latest book. What led you to want to put this into paper and pages?
So it began with testifying to like my experience with mental health, because I have OCD, right? Which is obsessive compulsive disorder. And in case anybody doesn't know, it's like living with a demon on your back all the time, obsessing, compulsive. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. But I found that like what I have to learn how to do is like not be distressed by the distressing thoughts, and that is one of the ways that I've like kicked OCD kind of. Therapy is helpful in terms of like, it's always good to have someone to talk to. But what I've really learned is like dropping out, being away from the therapist couch is so important. And I learned that during COVID. And during COVID, I basically was like, I have this story that I want to share with individuals, because we all kind of had to drop out a little bit during COVID because we would otherwise go insane, because all the messages in COVID were like, we're in a toxic world. It's a toxic environment. Oh no, it's the apocalypse. Like, it was just all this panic and anxiety and like and fear. And so I'm like very empathetic too. So I was like, how can I be of service in this situation? Like, what can I say? And what I could say was that like, how are we finding peace of mind away from the messages of the world? And I thought that was an important message to get out. And so that's the message that this new book is bringing to the forefront.
When you were a kid, did you ever think you would be a published author?
I did.
Something that was on the bucket list?
It was, I have one of my earliest pictures is when I'm 3 years old and I'm like writing and I'm like scribbling, I'm doodling. A 3-year-old is like noodling.
I love it. Did you find the writing process to be therapeutic in every way? In any
Yeah,
way, excuse
I
me.
did.
It's something that I can relate to just getting lost in the screen or on the paper and pen, depending on how the mood is. So thank you for sharing that. Everyone, stick around to the end of the show. We'll tell you exactly where to get this book. But as I previewed in the beginning, she does have an impact in many areas here, normalizing the conversation on mental health in a bunch of areas. I know you speak on gender issues, drug policies, drug addiction. What are some areas that you'd like to jump into today? I'll open up the court to you.
Okay. Well, I think one of the interesting topics that I think is an interesting topic, and hopefully your listeners do too, is the idea of the battle of the sexes and why no one is winning that war. I think that like we are constantly in like, are you a feminist? Are you not a feminist? Are you like pro transgender, not pro? And I think one of the things we have to just kind of start recognizing is that like sex and gender, again, belongs in the world of like the social. And what I'm like trying to advocate is let's go into the humanity. Like you're a human, I'm a human, and we're both human beings. And like I'm an XX, you're an XY. We are equally relevant, but we're never going to be equal to each other. We have different strengths. We should be equally valued. But like this idea that men and women have to be like equal is bogus. And it continues to like proliferate like the ideas of like just toxic kind of, I got to prove myself. You know, as a woman, I have to prove that I'm like as strong as a man, but I'll never be like as strong as a man just because that's not in my DNA to do, you know? And so it's just kind of like a catch 22 when we find ourselves getting stuck in this like endless loop. And it's just like, whoa, everybody slow down. We're equally relevant, but we're not equal to each other. And then we can, if we start doing that, Vincent, then we get to like celebrate the ways in which women are just naturally different from men. I don't care if you were born a man and you identify with, if you identify as a woman, what are the strengths of being a woman? If you identify as a man, what are the strengths of being a man, you know? And like we have different strengths. And like if we start thinking about differences, we're all about like equality here. And I think that's the wrong discussion to have. I think we should be talking about our differences. And like so that way we can like, well, maybe it would be good to have a female president. And maybe it's not about leaning in. Like maybe women shouldn't lean in to be more like man. Maybe we should lean out and be more like us.
I absolutely really appreciate you sharing your perspective here, and I could see your passion through the screen, which is what I can only hope when I bring on mental health advocates to this show. Everyone, you are not alone. We're going to continue to touch on a lot of areas that just because DC went through them and you may be going through them, again, you're not alone. Even if you don't know the person right now, we're adding a great new mental health advocate in DC to your network right now. Let's now talk about drug addiction.
I think it's getting worse, not better. And as somebody, I'm in recovery. You know, for me, the 12 steps work, not for everybody. But golly, like it is really, really tough because what's happening right now is that we're getting prescribed. It's like a big prescription culture. It's a drug culture. Like just saying no to drugs is bogus because we're being prescribed drugs all the time. Right. And like, you know, ecstasy used to be like legal and like cocaine used to be legal and like all this stuff and things were prescribed. And like, what we have to stop doing is like being hypocritical about it. We're living in a culture which like now cannabis is legal. Like we're promoting drug use, whether like we want to or not. It's a quick fix for like something that's like alienation, isolation, heartbreak. It's a quick fix, but it's not a real fix.
Yes, I've heard a lot of people say that, and it's like a band-aid, right? You're putting a band-aid on for a temporary heal, I guess you could say. But I know you advocate for different ways of healing, right? What are some things that work for you? I like to always add a few more tools to everyone's tool chest. And of course, touch on what works for some does not work for everyone. And it's okay if something does not work for you today. Everyone tuning on, I'd love to hear from you now, DC. What are some things you do to heal outside of leaning on prescription drugs and other mainstream alternatives?
Dancing.
Okay.
dancing is a big one. And that's like when the ancient Greeks, they loved Dionysus. And so Dionysus is one of those gods of like healing and like advocated dancing and like being in a community fellowship. And that's one of the reasons I love AA. It's like a fellowship, you know? But there's all these other recovery communities too. Walking, being in nature, nature is so healing. Nature is like going for a walk instead of taking a toke is a really powerful move. Because like that's the thing. It's like it's not that I'm against drugs, but I am like there is a cost that you pay. There's a cost.
And then to avoid that cost or different things, I love the nature example and walking something. My last apartment building, there was just a long sidewalk outside the building, and in between calls like this, getting off the screen, intentional walks, and the sun is a mood elevator, natural mood elevator. So I
Totally.
certainly love that. But of course, we make the mistake in staying in the sun too long, get a little bit sleepy. So you can't have that during the workday. But just taking that quick intentional break, I have found to be so, so impactful. And I appreciate you sharing that and that it's working for you. So everyone, that is a form of exercise. We often categorize exercise as this big lifting weights type of ordeal, but it looks different for everyone. And for some, it
Totally.
looks as simple as a walk in the morning or a walk at night. You're doing a few minutes and you're building it up.
Yeah. And then, one of the things like walk around the block.
And that's all it will take. And you'll get out there. And I love how dancing is a way to improve your mental health. Everyone, that's hopefully inspiring to you. Go put on your favorite song after this podcast recording. And then from there, you'll be all out and about. And now let's dive into another area that you certainly have great expertise with, and that's mental health relating to MBTI behavioral profiles.
Yeah. So I am an INFJ, which is an introverted feeling thinker judger with a very low sense of physical surroundings. So I'm very much like inside my inner world. I think you can be different in different parts of your life because I am now like doing a lot of book promotion and I took a test recently and I got ENFJ, which means that I'm an extroverted. It's the same thing. Like I'm still like a feeler and a thinker, but I would be using extroverted intuition. And I think that's fascinating because it's like, I'm actually going to start writing about this, but MBTI types is like Freud, father of psychotherapy, basically was like, there's a conscious and an unconscious. Okay. He made it aware that we have an unconscious and unconscious drives and stuff like that. And then Jung went further and was like, oh, and in the unconscious, you can divide the unconscious into different modalities and you can divide the conscious functions into different modalities. And there's like 16 archetypes that were, Myers-Briggs went further with that. And the different archetypes are like, basically like, what are you made of? Are you extroverted? Are you a feeler? What is the like predominant qualities of your whole soma?
Thank you for sharing that, everyone. These are assessments to learn more about ourselves and how we can leverage our strengths and improve on our weaknesses. The last time I took one was 2014, and
And
I
what
was
were
an
you?
ESTJ. But I
Okay.
do feel over time a lot has changed and evolved. As you dive into entrepreneurship, your introverted self will truly start shining. And now, many times, I don't have human interaction on the day, but I'll have a Zoom call or a Riverside call for a podcast because everyone, that human interaction is very important. We talked about intentionally isolating, but when you do need someone when things aren't going well, instead of maybe relying on a medication, she's inspired us today to try other things, maybe find someone in our support circle that can go a long way. So thank you for sharing all you have. But I do want to touch on a little more before I let you go. You're absolutely knocking it out of the park today. You do your poetry, right?
Yeah, I do.
Now, that's different from writing books. And I know your
Yeah.
poetry may be on relevant areas to this show. So let's dive into first. When did you start?
Oh gosh, I started when I was a kid. I wrote about OCD. I said, it must be perfect. I must do it again. The sorrow seems to never end. Must be perfect. I must do it again. The sorrow seems to never end. Or, oh, I want to be a tree and never feel the misery. Like all this stuff. And I was doing it kind of iambic pentameter, which is funny because that's my favorite way to write. But I started writing poetry when I was like 8, as soon as I learned how to write. I was writing fire people, dance around the log, fire people, how could you in the fog? Or me, myself, and I are quite an inseparable bunch. We eat together, walk together, we even do lunch. When me goes out on a sunny day, myself and I can't stay away. We stick together through thick and thin. It's just like having your own twin. We imitate what we do. We know when one of us is not true. But one day I left the clan. Me and myself had to make up our own plan. Me and myself felt alone. But the very next day I came home. I wrote that when I was like 11.
And now it's even evolved a bit more. What are some of your latest pieces of work?
So, To You Who Read These Lines was honored in Aduna magazine as like the poet of the year. And it's like, I share your gaze in the haze of your wish, your eye meeting my eye, your self same person, not myself and mine, that I may share a space in you with you. I who have hoped too long, I who have trusted too long, but long without merit, may I be worth the time taken to arrive on dusty pages, obsolete no more. Not now, we're two, maybe one, God dwells two. Ourselves come marked. The dust fills our trails, but line by line we intertwine. The thought of you loving you is such goodness, God's goodness indeed. But I, human, my eyes inside you, the one I would wish.
Wow. Very, very talented here. Do you have books with these poems in it?
Not yet. We'll see what comes. There's a book I want to put out called Divine Constellation.
Okay. And will that be the poetry book or on a different
Yeah, that
topic?
will be the poetry book.
Wow. Do you have some of these earlier pieces of work still? I know you've memorized them, of course, here on the show. I'm very impressed, but do you have the
On my
actual?
website, you can like see there's like links to all my poetry.
Oh man, everyone get
It's been
ready. You're going to
published.
have to stick around for just a few more minutes, find out the website where to get the book. But now I love this question, and I know, or I should say, I feel you're going to give a very powerful answer. If you could give a piece of advice here, DC, to anyone struggling today, listening to this show, feeling like they can't break through, what can you offer them?
I can offer the thought that like you're not alone. We're living in a very difficult times. Life is difficult. And the push pull of you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that or you didn't do that or like we're never enough in the eyes of society. There's always something more we have to achieve. There's always a gold star we need to get. And you're not alone. And when we can be in nature, nature is an artesian well. It is never ending. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Where in nature is your favorite to go?
I love a forest. I love a hike in a forest. I love a day by the beach, an ocean.
How far do you have to drive for that from where you are?
The ocean? Oh gosh, I have to drive like an hour to get to the ocean. And to get to the forest too is kind of a trip.
Well, I'm sure you have some good parks in the city. Are there any
There
your
are
favorite?
parks in the city. Yes.
Any
Yeah.
notable ones for if you inspired someone who happens to be living in the area to go out there and start taking
Elizabeth
walks?
Street is great sculpture garden. And
Elizabeth Street.
yeah, there's a great sculpture garden on Elizabeth Street. I'll probably walk there after this.
Okay, and I relate with you there where getting off the computer means taking a break from the computer, even if it's for a little bit. You got to reset not just our eyes, which you see my glasses, they're quite big, but now just for our own sanity. So everyone, we had an incredible mental health advocate join the show today. DC is just sharing a voice for so many, as we touched on briefly today on many of these areas that she adds a lot of value to on her website, on her book. So now, DC, please share, where is that website? Where are these books?
So dcccopeland.com is where, so dcccopeland.com. And that's where you can find my work. An Artist Manifesto, my earlier work can be found on Amazon. And you can read that book if you're interested. It is the precursor to Societal Dropout. And presently, I'm working with an agent to get Societal Dropout published. So hopefully you'll be seeing that in 2026.
That's so exciting. Well, congratulations on all your work. Congratulations on how far you continue to come and continue to inspire so many people in your networks. Everyone, be sure to connect with DC, an absolutely fantastic resource to have in your network who is very courageous about sharing experiences, sharing stories. And of course, one of the many missions of the show is to remember you are not alone. My name is Vincent A. Lancy. Please remember to subscribe to stay current with all of our mental health champions. And we're also on social media and other places too. So say hello to us wherever you like to hang out best in that virtual world. But with that, we're signing off today. And everyone, remember, get in touch and follow this amazing guest because that book is getting ready to come out. She's working with the agents, so you don't want to miss it. DC, thank you so much.
Thank you.